Hey family, welcome back to my channel. This is Life of Interruptions and I am Pearl Osa, bringing you love, light, peace, joy, and happiness to whatever part of the world, whatever time zone, whatever language, and whatever state of mind that you are in. Before we proceed, please let me ask you to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way you're in the know whenever we load something new. So listen, I'm at Arise Studios preparing to shoot a music video for Laiti Lailai. It's going to be out soon, and I realized that I've been gone for a while, and I thought, you know what, let's just do this video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about depression. I see that it has become a really big thing. Not that it's just started, it's always been there, but I think COVID, lockdown, and this new normal has kind of exacerbated the situation. And so we need to talk about it. We can't skirt around it. We need to talk about it because it's something people are really dealing with. And there was this day, I'm lying in bed and I literally hear the Lord say to me, people are depressed because they have been suppressed and oppressed below capacity. Let me repeat that. People are depressed. So in other words, depression comes as a direct result from oppression and suppression of the human spirit below what it was made and fashioned to accomplish and acquire. So you come into this world and, you are loaded. You are loaded from the infantile stage with great possibility, great hope, and just the capacity for infinite wisdom and greatness. But then you get into the world and life begins to shape you, and it tells you, how dare you think about dreaming that big, about attaining to heights that high. You are not meant for you, not meant for your kind. Your parents never accomplished anything like that. It's not for you. And so you begin to limit yourself. You go to get the degree that you can just manage to get by on. It's the easier one you can do, or it's the one you could afford, or it's the one you were accepted into. Maybe you don't get the degree, and school is not for everyone. You get the job that is necessary to just get by, to make ends meet, to pay the bills, and you've been reduced to a life literally of building bricks for Pharaoh. But what you were born to do and accomplish, you have never scratched the surface of. You maybe don't even know. It's one thing when you know, but you're not able to. Then there's a whole other breed of people who have no idea. They don't know. So you fit into one of those two categories. The bottom line is you're not doing what you are capacitated to do. It's in you to do. So what's happening is that this thing is bubbling to the surface. It wants to express itself. It wants to be, it just wants to do, create, be great. It wants to have dominion in the earth. It wants to replicate heaven on earth. Let me put it that way. And that's what is referred to as your passion. And that's what you've been given zeal to accomplish. But you find yourself just having to do what you have to do based on the circumstances, situations, the norms that you're plunged into. This is life suppressing you. This is life pushing you down. And every time you try bubble up, there's enough people to tell you, sit down, hush up, lie down, keep quiet. And the worst still is sometimes we are the ones who tell ourselves that. It's not even circumstances or people or situations. We've learned it. It's learned behavior. But if you're feeling depressed, it's because deep down in you, there is a refusal. There is a holy rebellion against the status quo. There is a holy fight back. And that expresses itself for you as depression. People refer to that or they talk about the outcomes or the signs of said depression as, almost a plaguing laziness, like you just don't want to get up and do anything. Because of course, you're doing stuff you're not fashioned to do. So laziness is as a direct result, sometimes in these particular circumstances. Laziness, that feeling of just not wanting to get up, not wanting to do anything. Because I don't know if you know those people who, if they can't do it perfectly, they don't want to do it at all. And so things don't get done and it looks like a big mess. Either they begin to live in squalor, in filth, because they're not going to tidy up because they're perfectionists, as crazy as that might sound. So if you see people demonstrating what you would refer to as laziness and just can sit in bed the whole day, it's because there's a spark in them that has not been lit. It's not been put on. They don't want to get up and go live somebody else's expectations. They don't want to get up and go live somebody else's life. They don't want to get up and be less. They are suppressed, below capacity. They are oppressed by the situation, and therefore they are depressed. And we might think, get over it. Get over it. Now here's where I just want to take a detour, because I've heard a lot of people say, there's a new hashtag, it's okay to not be okay. It's not. It's not, and we mustn't settle for that. Because when people are not okay for long enough, it leads to suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies, and then suicide itself. It leads to this life of nothingness or below average or mediocrity, and that becomes generational. Your daddy did this much, so you do that much, or even if you do just that much, you think you're the in thing. You think you're it. Meanwhile, your calling is to do that, and so was his. You know the story of Abraham. Abraham continued a journey that his father was supposed to have done. The call to go forth and find a city whose maker was God was not originally Abraham's call. It was his father's call, and his father got stuck at some point because of grief, right? And never continued the journey. So God had to come down to the next generation and say, let's move. If God had not come and pulled Abraham out, and the Bible tells us he was pulled out of his kindred, out of his kind, out of his place and his people, there's a lot of detachment that needs to happen. So often, in terms of tribal groups, of racial groups, of gender groups, we need to be pulled out of certain mindsets. Women are told, here's how far you can go and no further. Not true. And then when you put Proverbs 31 in front of them, a whole movement arises. And this movement proudly tells you how that's impossible and how the world should not put that on you. Meanwhile, when you don't live up to that, you could come into depression. You've got whole races that have lived under the bar of the potential and the wealth and the capabilities and the talents and the giftings that were put into them as a nation, as a tribe, as a race, but they're not living up to it. So it's not okay to not be okay. And I want us to stop normalizing that it's okay to be not okay, or we don't look for help. How do you go about looking for help? You're going to have to do what works for you till you accept that there's only one way. For me, there's only one way. I don't know another way. And the way that I know is to go to the maker and go to the journal and go to the book. The Bible calls it the volume of the book. There is a book written about you. No manufacturer. And I'm not even talking about just the Bible. I'm talking about the scrolls of your life, because then it becomes applicable to everyone, believer, unbeliever, Christian or not. No manufacturer sends out a high-powered machine without a manual. It is impossible. And each one of us has that volume. That's how deep we are. That's how vast our being is. We have volumes written concerning us that we are supposed to tap into. Now, how are you going to get into if you do not understand? You open a manual and then it's in German and it's in Arabic and it's in, if you're watching from Germany, clearly what I'm saying doesn't apply to you. But I'm talking to those of us on this side of the earth who are reading this thing in a language we do not understand. So either I have to learn the language or I need to get an interpretation. I need to get a revelation. We need to come to that place where we have a relationship with the revelator, if there's any such a word, with the revealer. We need to have a relationship with the one who will interpret that book for us, and to have a desire. I have my manual in my car. Guy, us do that. So we then believe the lies that we are told, by life, by colleagues, by instructors, by family, that this is your place. This is your portion in life. This is the line and you shouldn't cross it. We believe that because we never bothered to open the manual. And again, I'm not referring necessarily to just a biblical manual. I'm talking about the book of your life. You came with a manual. You came with instructions because you are a complex machine. You came with a download. And that download is not purely only the responsibility of your parents and teachers to unpack and then to instruct you. It is your responsibility also to begin to, at some point in your life, search. So I want to dare you today to become a searcher, to become inquisitive, to not just listen to what has become the norm and acceptable for your tribe, your gender, your nation, and your race. You are not bound by those things. And if you keep staying under those things, then you are subject to suppression. You are subject to the oppressor, and you are bound to be depressed. You need to come out of that compression, out of that, you're too big, man. When the Bible says out of your belly shall flow rivers, just take the Nile. The Nile flows through how many continents? That's a river. Now, it's not just one river, it's rivers, and they flow through you. How do you think that you have the capacity to house the Holy Spirit if you are not so deep and so complex, right? And that's why the Holy Spirit, is able to indwell you. That's why you have to come with a manual. That's why you can't be, just understood by the norm. You can't understand yourself by the norm. There are times I'm having a conversation with my husband and he's like, okay, so tell me what you want me to do in this. What do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. Even I don't know. Even I cannot tell you how this ought to work concerning me, because that's how deep I am. Until I've gone to the one who made me, I don't know which page in the manual. I don't know which part of the scrolls. I don't know what part of the volume of books that are written concerning the various phases and seasons of my life. So we need to come back to the original maker. Stop listening to the noise of people who say how far you can go, what you can accomplish, and what rights you have. Because your rights are founded in royalty. You're a whole king. You're a whole ambassador of a whole nother kingdom in another realm. You don't have a limit. You do not have a limit. Your only limits are such that we see in part and prophesy in part. Your limits are not what the world, imposes upon you. Your limits are to say that he has carved out a piece for everyone. But the piece he carves out for you is hugagimus, will take a lot. And he doesn't carve it out for you. He carves it out for you and your successors. So there's parts of that you will explore in your lifetime. And there's parts of that you must unearth for the next generation. You are deep. You are deep. You are vast. You are big. And you are depressed because you've not explored the size of who you are and what you've been called to do. At this point, I really just want us to stop trying to take permission from the world. So my husband used to be Agbolaho. That was his surname. And that means, world, just let me be. And the Lord spoke to him one day and said, you know what? Where I want to take you and what I want to do with you, you cannot seek permission from the world. And that's when our name then was changed by instruction, by divine instruction, and we became the Osas, right? But through life, we're constantly trying to get permission. You want to do something, when you seek counsel, your counsel is not so much, how do you reckon I should go about this? Your counsel more, you really want to hear people give you permission. Can I, should I? No. I want you to begin to dream again. Something that I've noticed with myself is that the minute I give myself permission and begin to do the craziest, what seems to be crazy in this realm, seems to be crazy to people. But when I just allow myself full expression of what God is saying to do and to be, and those crazy thoughts deep in my heart that I'm like, Nami, I can do this, man. I can. Impossible. What's that? How do you spell it? Impossible is nothing. The minute I begin to have those thoughts, it's like the cells in my body come alive. Life is restored to me. I can't explain it to you. And so anything that would want to depress me cannot work. It's almost like a balloon on water. It can't be pressed down because I'm filled with this air, man. I'm filled with this spirit. He's blown into me. That what he breathed into Adam in the garden. I've been filled up. And I can't be suppressed. And I can't be pushed down. So guys, you need to get an infilling. You need to find the scrolls. You need to get in, in a relationship with the maker. and ask him to translate that manual from whatever language it seems to be in that's not making sense to you. And sometimes you're going to make these decisions that might have economic impact. I'm leaving that job. It's suppressing me. It's oppressing me, and therefore it's depressing me because it's outside my scope of talents and capabilities and calling, so I'm not going there. Sometimes you might make that decision, and that making that decision might seem to the world like a backstep, like a pullback, like, you have to give up living in that neighborhood. You can't drive that car anymore. What happened to the fancy holidays? What happened to purpose? And it might mean a change of friends. It might mean a change of circles. It will mean a change of mindset. But I promise you, the end result will blow your mind. It is not okay to not be okay, and there is a way out. And if it's pills for you, that will work on the chemical thing, If it's going to a shrink and a counselor for you, that's fine. We need someone to talk to. But I urge you to make sure that you're listening to the heart of the person speaking to you. You're filling your mind with the right things, and that those things are water for the specific seed that has been planted in your soul. It's the fertilizer and the manure and the, compost? I don't know what it is. That is specific to, there's some plants you grow, you put certain kind of food in them and it doesn't work for them. Some plants need more water, some plants need less. There is something you need for your seed to grow. So wherever it is you say you're looking for help, be sure that it is not drowning or quenching or destroying your seed, but that it is actually growing you to its purpose. And I will see you in the next video. I don't know when it will be, but it will be, and it'll be fun. In the meantime, let's engage. I have these 59-second videos on Instagram where I summarize a lot of what's going on here. So if you want quick snaps to know I'm going to post before I do post it, please follow me on @MrsPearlOsa, @MrsPearlOsa on Instagram. And let's keep doing this thing. Thank you. So don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bells, and I will see you soon. Love you much. Love you plenty. Hey family, welcome back to my channel. This is Pearl of Osa. Hey family, welcome back to my channel. This is Pearl Osa, and